This concert is entitled Forbidden Voices, and the concert essentially came to mind because of speaking with Eric Banks about his piece, I Will Remember Everything. Vox has sung in a number of languages over many years. I mean, way too many to count, quite frankly, but had never sung in Russian. So this is a new challenge for us. And I will say that the singers are having, some hard times along the way, but they are working hard at it, and it is going to be awesome.
So Sofia Parnok is a Russian lesbian poet that died in 1933. She has shaped very little of what we know today because her work was censored probably up until about 15 years ago. So she's relatively unknown. She was the lover of Marina Tsvetaeva, who is a more famous Russian poet. And it's because of that relationship between the two of them, which happened about 100 years ago, that I knew of her work at all. When I originally got the commission from Kitka, the group in Oakland, I wanted to write a piece that was a dialogue between Marina Tsvetaeva and Sofia Parnok. But the more I read about Sofia, who wasn't famous and whose works were squelched during her life, I wanted to write a piece that was only based on her work. So I chose poems that go through her life and tell her story a bit more chronologically.
It's kind of like Eric said, taking a story that's been untold and telling it. And it's difficult, it's challenging, it's not traditional. The music is not what your ear expects it to be. And so you have to work extra hard just to make the musicality correct, and then to make the music really music.
I'm interested in giving voice to people who didn't have one, or chose to write their voice in secret, or at least very quietly. Sofia, in her life, wrote several collections of poetry, and about halfway through her life, they stopped publishing her. So basically as soon as she came out in her poetry, she wasn't publishable anymore. And she lived in poverty because of that. And, except for a glimmer of a couple of decades in Russia's recent history, people didn't know of her work. People didn't know who she was.
And imagining all of the struggles she must have gone through just to simply love the people she fell in love with, I don't know if I would have been that brave. I don't know if I would have put myself through the same process. I do think back to my coming out, which was nearly 20 years ago at this point. And I remember how scared I was, realizing that I was different than the norm, living in a part of the country where it wasn't widely accepted to be gay. I realized that it's people like Sofia and her story that actually paved the way. And because she chose to live her life unapologetically, I actually carry less of a burden.
It's about hearing the beauty of her words and setting them to music so other people can. So for me, that's the passion is around that. It's giving voice to people who don't have one.
How I put this concert together was to have the first half of the concert be Eric's piece. And in the second half, we'll hear from some other forbidden voices. The Miracosta Women's Ensemble, the high school group, will be coming to join us again. They're going to sing music of also forbidden voices, the children of the Ospedali in Venice. These are the children of an orphanage, people who, children who weren't wanted. Essentially their voices weren't wanted yet. Composers wrote for them and wrote some fantastic music for them. So they will be singing that music. We will continue with a banned books set. So it's, again, literature now that is put to music that had been forbidden in one area or another. And we will conclude the concert with a setting of Sojourner Truth's and Ain't I a Woman? And clearly her voice was a forbidden voice in her time as well. So I'm very excited about the breadth of the concert, how we go from Eric's piece and a new work to all the way through many of the forbidden voices that have, been within the women's community.
I feel like I'm really lucky to be in a choir where every woman in the choir values this so much, values our community and values the music. It's not that people just show up here to sing, it's that people truly are doing this for a real meaning. And I feel like it has that impact on our lives too. It makes us better people, and it makes us better friends and better community members and better partners to have this in our lives.